Hello, and welcome to the show. This is the Goodwind podcast, and I'm Niko, your host. And today is a mildly special day. I went to the hospital for my second checkup post-cancer. I guess in the middle of being healthy. Now that I'm healthy, I go for checkups every 3 months. I get blood work done, and I get a little physical examination, blood pressure, some light touching, and I talk to the doctor. And everything went well. No need to build any tension or suspense there. Nothing was found. My lymph nodes are normal size, but the blood work takes some hours to get back, and I haven't heard back on that yet. But the doctor said the checkup went perfect. So that's good. Good news. Right? Yes. Being in the hospital brought up a whole bunch of stuff. It's been, I guess, 3 months since last time I was at the hospital. And it's in the same place that I went to get chemo, the Kellogg Center in Chicago. And so I get there, they do the COVID examination, temperature, ask a few questions. I go to the waiting room, and I'm just sitting in the waiting room feeling some type of way, not really knowing how to feel, and instead of just going to my phone and engaging with social media or checking email, sending texts, I just pull out a little meditation. So I just kind of sit. I started with my eyes closed and just started to feel into my body. Nothing special, just like a body scan, like feeling my top of my head down to the tips of my toes and then back up. And I think it's PTSD, right? PTSD can be so nuanced, and I think it depends so much on the type of trauma, how the PTSD is manifested or expresses itself. It's almost such a large blanket of a term because I think the type of trauma plays such a role in what it actually feels like, person to person, because it wasn't necessarily acute like pain or anything. And I can't imagine like someone who has trauma of like military service or gunfire or losing someone horrifically, or the myriad of traumas, being assaulted, compared to this kind of subtle PTSD I have, which is like going to a place where I got chemo, right? And chemo has been a good thing for me. It's taken me from ill to a place where I can be healthy again. So I'm like, even there's that definitely makes it more mild. That makes it a little bit more subtle. But going into the place and just like sitting down in that same waiting room that I would be waiting for to be called, to be hooked up and pumped with treatment, medicine, chemistry, chemicals. It just a lot of sensation. And I was kind of adverse to it, right? Walking into the hospital, there's a particular trigger for me. And one of the strangest and weirdest parts was the saline solution. So I would get 4 treatments, 4 chemicals, chemos put into me. And in between, and that meant that I would get my port, that I would get flushed with saline solution, like 10 milliliters of saline solution, maybe 10 times per treatment, per 6-8 hours treatment. And the saline solution, for those of you who don't know, when it gets pushed into your body, it produces a very specific taste. Some describe it as metallic, but it's almost like, it's not like ocean water. Look, I hope you don't have to know, and I don't have the proper words. Maybe metallic is the best way to describe it. But that taste used to trigger nausea. That taste, more so than even the chemotherapies, which didn't really have like a flavor, but they certainly had a feeling. And I'm sure the saline alone, if they weren't paired with the chemos, wouldn't produce such a nauseating effect. But the fact that I would get flushed with the saline, I'd have that taste in my mouth, and then have a nausea-producing treatment. It's kind of like this reinforcement, this like Pavlovian reinforcement. So I worked in a lab since being healthy, and part of my job was syringing up chemicals and placing them into basically like a spectrometer. And at first, when I was pushing the chemicals through for testing, it would like trigger this like stomachy, chesty kind of nausea, even though it was very separate from me. I wasn't. And that's almost what the PTSD-like thing. I'm hesitant to just say, even though I've said it a bunch, PTSD, I don't feel like I'm fully, I don't know. Maybe I can just accept that it is some sort of trauma response. And sitting in the waiting room, first being uncomfortable, and then, I'm the youngest one in there for sure. There was about 4 people, and many of the people in the getting treatment or waiting for treatment or waiting for their post-treatment examinations, like 80, 70, 80, it was just an older community, fortunately. And I was the youngest one again today. And so there was these 2 older men, both with walkers, but like sweet as apple pie. Like I'd hear them interact with like the check-in lady and then the nurses that would draw blood. And despite like their immobility and their circumstances that led them to a cancer treatment center, just like so nice, so kind. And I'm sitting there, like not on my phone, but in this meditation space, kind of feeling into this discomfort or this remembrance of discomfort. And I practice. I don't know if it was intentional at first or if it just kind of sprung up like a hiccup, but I realized how healthy I am compared to where I was, and in my head I just kept saying I'm healthy. Like that was my mantra. I'm healthy. Like I'm so able, so thankful, but it was just I'm healthy. I am healthy. And I was feeling it, I was feeling myself. And all of a sudden, it felt good to be in that space. It felt good to be in the hospital, in this waiting room. It felt good to see elders, like super old elders, and to feel like the aliveness in me as a young man. And I said some corny shit in my head, or some corny stuff came to mind, but it was like I will carry this fire, like this life, as far as I can, for as long as I can. Seeing older men and their fire, their ability to hold fire, carry the life force within them dwindling, and seeing their lightness, it's like I'm ready to continue to carry this. And I feel fully able to, to carry this on for future generations, and as long as I can, and as long as is given to me, maybe. So it felt kind of good to be in the hospital. It kind of felt good to just remember in a way, in a strange, weird way. And to spend just that 10, 20 minutes meditating on my health again, specifically on my health. Because when I get sick, all other thought forms and stressors went away. It's like, oh, I only have to focus on my health. And in a way, it was liberating that I only had one focus, and that was my own healing. So showing up for myself to meditate and to just repeat to myself, I'm healthy. There's so much to be thankful for already. And, to work on the mental aspects of it, like, have I lived enough? Have I done enough? And like learning how to quiet those doubts with gratitude, or with, yeah, my life has been beautiful so far. Yeah, I am happy to be here. Yeah, I do want to go further. And I will fight for that. I will fight in a way for life and to continue moving forward. And then since, being healthy, like old things have kind of crept back in, where now my interpersonal relationships, now that health isn't my only focal point, and I'm looking to thrive or to accumulate or to, ego things, feel respected or feel heard, seen, etc. I lost just a little bit of that naturally. But it's also good to get lost. It's good that I have more, that I don't have to just focus on being well. It's a luxury that I'm now fully aware of. It's a luxury to not just have to focus on being healthy. And there's an immense gratitude in that. And it feels good to be able to say. So the checkup meant something to me, going and kind of revisiting this place of trauma and sitting and feeling it, and just past that discomfort there was sitting this gratitude, this love, and this thankfulness for Western medicine too. I was talking to another friend on the way to this doctor's visit. I felt like reaching out to some people, and some didn't answer, some did. And I was talking to she's an elder. She's just such an awesome person to be around, and she had blood cancer as well, and she's since then been healed, or has been cancer free. And I wasn't thinking about calling her. I wasn't planning on calling her on the way to my appointment, but I happened to, she came to mind really strongly, and then I called her. And we were each talking about how alternative medicine, Eastern medicine, almost the denial of Western medicine was our main mode of living before we got sick. And how, contrary to our beliefs, Western medicine helped us each in being healthy again for our time. It both helped eliminate the cancer and helped us be clear, cancer-free. And our gratitude for that, and our gratitude for having our beliefs shaken in a way so that we can not deny any aspect of existence, for example. There was a long time where I kind of knew I was sick, but I was doing everything I could to try to fix it myself. All these homeopathic remedies, drinking my pee and fasting and meditating in a particular way. And, for me, it was a really hard decision to start chemotherapy. I wanted to heal myself in any other way, because for a long time I had the idea that, it was only bad. That Western medicine was evil, was the empire, and alternative medicine was the resistance. But now my beliefs are more inclusive, where I don't throw out Western medicine at all. I'm much too thankful for the second chance that it's given me. And it doesn't deny Eastern medicine. It doesn't deny alternative medicine, because I've used a lot of the meditation skills, the breathing practices, that plant medicines, ayahuasca and psilocybin, I've used to help get my mind right so that I can approach these Western medicines, I can approach these surgeries with a certain level-headedness. I think that, and there's not proof of this, but I think that ayahuasca helped me assimilate the chemotherapy and helped it be so effective for me. It worked for me within a couple weeks. I was cancer free. And again, I think that was part of the mindset that I was able to cultivate through ceremony. And certainly it helped me approach suffering in a different way, where I didn't have to be so caught up in the pain. I can kind of witness the pain and not exacerbate it for longer, particularly in things like surgeries and the nausea, And I think fasting kind of helped the nausea in a way with chemo. There's like a big blog that says that you should fast on the days of chemo. And I did a little bit of that, and I wonder if, I don't have anything too much to compare it to, which is okay. But they just work so much more woven together for me. And it's a luxury to be able to throw out Western medicine. It means you haven't gotten ill. It means you haven't needed them. The abstract Western medicine, hospitals as we know it in the United States. I mean, it's easy to criticize medical practices when, you're healthy and you've never been faced with an illness and you haven't tried everything that you could think of at the time. And, then you see what you do. This kind of makes me think of another topic. It's kind of off topic, but similar. Same, but different. And, there's just there's like people in the community, this like alternative community that like, they think of pets, right? And dogs. And their perspective is domestication is wrong, right? We've taken a wild animal and we've turned it into a pug that can barely breathe out of its face. That's completely dependent on its human for food. It's not in a pack. Like, we isolate these pack animals and keep them. We basically take their balls from them and give them kind of this. There's this Stockholm syndrome effect where they become completely dependent on us, and they actually learn to love us even though we've taken this wildness from them. And again, that's just one, it's pessimistic as fuck. But two, it's just too easy. Like how I see it now, because I have a dog too, so I've thought about this. Like, I've taken that seriously. I'm like, am I really trapping this dog? Like, first off, my dog was born whether or not, like, I didn't help my dog become born. Like, she was at the shelter the day that I showed up. I didn't have two dogs meet and fuck to create her. So I'm not like overly responsible for her life. I'm not responsible for dogs being a thing right now. We're not on the frontier of transitioning wolves to domesticated dogs, first off. So it's a denial of what is. Like, what is right now is there are dogs, and there are plenty of dogs that need homes that don't have the ability to create these packs and to be wild. And go to Puerto Rico, go to poor countries. I know Puerto Rico is part of the United States and it's a colony, not a country, but it's what comes to mind. The street dogs aren't living the best. They're not reflecting love, and they look, oh my God, I've seen some dogs that just look like a horror movie. Like growths falling off of its side and face, and it's like, and not approachable. And like I remember just like this hot day in Puerto Rico, and I'm walking down the street away from this house I was staying at, and for some reason there was like a Tupperware on the lawn, and I walk out of this like the fenced area of the house, and there's just like these 4 dogs, mangy as fuck, and just like basically drinking like puddle water, like dried up mud, and just like not looking good. And I see this Tupperware on the ground. I just fill it up with some water. I try to give it to them. They walk away, no problem. I put it down. I'm like, okay, on my way back, I'll get it. And it's like, that makes me feel better, because I feel like I'm offering a little bit of love, like a little bit of care to this. It's helping me cope with my seeing this like mangy pack. And living in the wild on the streets is difficult. So that's one. And two, I think that wolves participated in their own domestication as humans participated in the domestication of wolves. It's called symbiosis. It was a symbiotic relationship. Maybe it's ventured a little bit from that because we live in such abundance right now, but there was a time where wolves allowed themselves, because of the more consistent ability to get food, to get shelter, and the relationship was built between men and humans, or dogs and humans, not just because men needed to dominate the situation and dominate nature. Like, it's taken way too long for, like, the domination over nature is I think of the Industrial Revolution. I feel like it's 300 years old, where we've kind of just have gone too far in taking and polluting, and where there was just a natural harmony that existed earlier on because of lack of technology, or the lack of the ability to exploit resources from the earth and process them. So I think this relationship between dogs and humans was like more symbiotic. It was more chosen. And I don't see domestication as wrong, or it's a little weird, right? Like, wolves turned into, like, because of us, wolves turned into chihuahuas and wiener dogs. That's just weird. You know, it's weird. Yeah. If I would have to start over, I would have maybe kept wolves a little, and I had control over everything. I would have liked to keep wolves a little bit more wolfy, maybe. But it's also beautiful how all of these different looking dogs have been created from like a common ancestor, and over so many years of like breeding. And I mean, it's just wild. But to, like, I had a friend who like had a cat, had a dog, had like even like a lizard, and they had like a revelation, like, oh, domestication is wrong. Like, we're keeping these animals prisoner. They should be free. And so they gave away like their cat, and they gave away their lizard and their dog, or I think their dog passed. And it's like that's just sweeping it under the rug. Like, you already took that cat's like sex organs. Like, it's already alive and in your possession. It almost just seems like you don't want to take care of it anymore. Like, you feel wrong, so instead of actually like seeing it through, like, you made a wrong decision according to how you believe, what you believe now. So see it through. Don't just give it away, offload that decision like you're doing something better because you don't have the response. You're just giving up responsibility, and you're not willing to make things right. You just feel like you did something wrong and you want someone else to take care of your shit. Like, if you really feel like you did something wrong, then let that cat live outdoors as much as they want to, maybe. And if they do get eaten, because that's also more likely, like, my dog can't live on her own. She's a pack animal without a pack. I can't just release her to the wild. First off, she won't go. She loves me, or that's what her act like. She loves people and she loves being around. And even if I let her outside, she would just sit and wait by the door. I don't know if that's Stockholm syndrome and she doesn't know any better, but my point is like, she wouldn't last. She doesn't know how to be wild, whether I took it from her or whether, dogs are just as responsible for their own path, as we are. It's not possible to right that wrong that way. How I see it is I've made a decision to take care of this animal, to take him in, and she's part of my pack now. And I'm her pack. And I will be with her as long as I can and keep her safe and healthy and fed. And she'll give me love and bring me toys and snuggles. That's our symbiotic relationship. Because what she does do something, and I can be angry. I can be so angry or so upset or so frustrated. And I'll just like walk down the stairs and like she'll just walk up to me and I can't say anything bad to her. She's just so fucking awesome. Everyone loves their dogs so much, especially I guess white people, but I guilty as charged. I love animals so much and they improve the quality of my life so much. Like, they show me a love unconditional love, right? Even when my dog was a puppy and I was an impatient pack leader or whatever, like, I would get mad. I'd spank her and she, which I feel bad about. I wish I was a little more patient, if anything. And, she's a puppy. I'm a 200-pound man and right now she's a 60-pound dog, but she was even smaller when she was a puppy. And it's like, whatever. It's what happened. I think dogs do respond to physicality. I didn't have to be necessarily so aggressive or impatient, but like I could have given her physical clues for training to show her do's and don'ts during the training period, like the first couple of years. And with bigger dogs, I don't have any problem like grabbing them by the scruff of their neck, wrestling with them, and kind of just, getting physical, roughhousing. I think dogs communicate really well through roughhousing. So I'm not in the category that you just don't ever touch a dog, or a person for that matter. I don't have kids, but that kid is wrestling me and getting my best grappling moves until they can beat me on their own, or something like that, until they can muster up the courage to kill me. But yeah, I do wish, I was like, maybe there's like one or two times where I'm like, this is too aggressive. She's scared, and I would be too if I was a little thing and a big thing came and yelled at me because I shit on the carpet for the 4th time in a day, or whatever it was. Probably wasn't even that. Pulling on the leash too much. My point is I love animals so much, and white people love their dogs, and I think that's not just a white people thing anymore. I think people love their dogs. White people just get shit because I let my dog kiss me on the mouth, and that's gross. But it's my dog. And it's a choice I make. And she'll sneak a kiss even if I don't give it to her. I wake up with a sliced tongue in my mouth sometimes. It's like, what's a man to do? I'm not going to get mad at her. I love her way too much. I love her so much. I make the joke, but it's not really a joke. But I make the joke that it's not really a joke. But I'll make the joke that's not really a joke, that my dog is the love of my life. And I'll say this to my girlfriend. The joke is it'll be me, my girlfriend, and my dog like in a room. And I'll look at my dog and say, oh, my perfect baby, my perfect love of my life. And then I'll look at my girlfriend and be like, and you. And then I'll look back on the dog. Oh, my perfect, most beautiful baby. And I'm like, dirty human. Which is not funny to you. I already know the presentation was shit on that, but it's got a few laughs. There's something I've realized with comedy. And if I'm telling jokes, particularly to my family or my girlfriend, and they're bombing, right? Like I'll think of a bit and I'll present it and it'll bomb. But what I noticed is, one, sometimes sticking with a punchline way beyond you think you should stop, because you'll say a joke and you'll get iced. My group of friends from high school used to say, like, when people were trying to tell a joke and they got crickets back, they say, oh, you're getting iced. It's basically the equivalent to bombing, right? But what I noticed is sometimes if you just triple down, quadruple down on the joke, on the punchline, maybe throw in different like special like vocal effects and like a little pinch of confidence. One, you might get a joke, or might get a laugh, or a snick, like a little. But I'd say go down, quadruple down on the punchline, even if you don't get any laughs. Return to that joke maybe the next day, maybe in a week. And you might, people like to remember and they'll laugh remembering how you bombed before, but it'll turn into a genuine laugh. And then here's the real beauty of it. Return to that joke, that punchline, in 5 years, and you'll get a genuine laugh. It's like magic, but it requires 5 to 10 years of commitment to a joke. So it goes like this. Day 1, ground zero, joke. You say the joke. Yeah, bananas are slippery. So I like, this is not really a joke, but it's what's coming to my mind is Come On Baby Light My Fire, the song by The Doors. I would just say, come on baby light my fire. Come on baby light my fire. Come on baby light my fire. Come on baby and you can see how this would be annoying, right? And that it's not funny at all right now. Because, well, one, there's no context. Like, I would do it when it would be some sort of context. We were lighting a fire outside or lighting a candle, or I asked for a lighter or something like that. There would be context. But you would see how it's not funny right now. So you wouldn't laugh. And I would keep going. Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. And you, again, wouldn't laugh. I might get a snicker, like maybe a nervous laugh, right? That's day 1. You wait. Day 5 comes around, 5 days from ground zero, day 1. And the context approach, we're talking about fire. Something happens with heat or whatever. And come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. And again, you wouldn't get a laugh. This would be the time where you really drive it in. You really bring it home. And you kind of double and triple down, and you get maybe a couple snickers. And maybe you take it far enough where they just laugh because there's nothing else to do. You're so ridiculous and they can't escape. Like, you're in a car and you won't stop. And maybe it'll turn around, especially if they're not mad at you. It becomes a little funny. That's another important day. That's kind of the second phase So that's the second phase. Now you wait a year and the situation presents itself where you're outside. Maybe you wait the whole winter or you wait the whole summer, and then the season comes around where it's lighting fire season, and you start doing the fire thing, and then you just maybe softly sing it. Or I don't know, the context is going to be different, but you bring it back. It's called a comeback. And comebacks are heroes. A hero comes back. The story of the hero goes away and a hero returns. Think Jesus, think Hercules, so the comeback brings a certain joy. And if you got past the awkwardness, the icing, the bombing, and drove the phrase home well enough, the comeback, it's almost the more awkward the initial phases, and the more you bomb, when you do the callback, it's that much more of a payoff. And that's a thing. That's a genuine thing. And I don't know what it's called, but it's just an observation I've had, and it's real as heck. And another one I used to do, again, is this won't have any chance of being funny, but there's a famous song, why do birds suddenly appear every time? But I wouldn't do it service like that. I would go, why do birds suddenly appear all the times that you need? Just really off key. There's almost an art to being off key. If you can be so opposite of musical with intention, that's an art form in itself. And I'm still practicing. I don't think that was my best performance, but I would do that daily for a week. Every time my girlfriend came in the room, why do birds? Why do birds? Whatever it was more authentico in the moment, and it's because it's how I felt. And it was annoying. It was annoying to her for about a week straight. I might not have even gotten a snicker or like a smirk, but guess what? I brought it back 3 years ago, or here's one, they'll bring it back. And now it'll be their joke. Now you're in their head. It is funny how sometimes the thing, like there's catchphrases in a group and it's like, oh, that sounds so stupid. And you start saying it as a joke, like mocking the original saying of it, and now it's your phrase. Now all of a sudden you can't delineate whether or not you're saying it as a joke or whether it's your phrase. And jokes can be like this. This is the long road to comedy. This is long form comedy. You're not going to build a special off of this. You're not going to build a nice piece of entertainment in this. Although, if you watch any special from any comedian that's worth a damn, they'll incorporate callbacks into their hour sets. So they'll make a joke in the first 15 minutes of their hour, and they'll either call it back once or twice in the second or third trimester of their special. And when it's done right, it's like perfect. It's brilliant. Callbacks are so good. And this is just a long form callback. And it also requires a certain amount of commitment. And the message, I guess, is stick with it. And don't give your dog away if you feel like you're all of a sudden against domestication of animals. Because you made a commitment and you should see it through. And there is something about, there's something special about commitment. I have plenty of thoughts on marriage and, why does the government have to get involved in love, and why should it be tax incentivized? And the ceremony is kind of lame anyway. It's not like if I wanted to do my own I would do my own ceremony. That's what I would want, like where I'd pull from different, anyways. But there's something about commitment. There's something about going into like a business relationship or a friendship that there's a certain feel when someone's just in it for the short term that it's it feels more transactional. you can feel more used, and sometimes you want to be used, right? Sometimes you want to be able to use others, and one night stands are a thing, and sometimes the stars align where you both don't want anything truly except for this night, and you have a great time. And that's not exactly what I'm talking about. But like in business, for example, maybe we'll keep it business orientated. Like there's a feeling of commitment. I'm in this for the long run. Like I want to be here, and I know there's going to be bumps in the road, but it's going to be our ability to overcome those challenges. It's not, the conflict won't crush us. So because of that, that allows for there to be an authenticity in the relationship, because you can't really thrive if someone's always afraid and walking on eggshells, especially in a partnership. And I think that walking on eggshells kind of feeling gets dissipated when you commit. When you know that this is where you want to be, and you're willing to overcome the conflict and the conflict resolution. And this is kind of why there's a lot of people, and myself included, where it's like I'm only show my real self to my family. And my real self for a little while was like, moody or short, impatient. And I would only show that impatience to my family, and I'd almost show the outside world the exact opposite, where I'd let anyone walk all over me because I was afraid they would leave. In a way, I was so focused on the short-term satisfaction of them being here, that I would be afraid to show them my real self. And then I would bring it home and like be extra angry with the people that I knew wouldn't just pick up and leave, that were in it for the long run, in a sense. And now I've shifted quite a bit where, I have a lot more patience for my family. I don't show them that side because I'm grateful for them mostly. And I'm more willing to give the outside world the treatment or whatever, the real me, because those who will, it's almost like I have the complete opposite mindset, where if you can see me kind of in this like authentic place, even if I'm unhappy, and you're willing to come back for more, then we have a chance at a long run. And I'm more interested in the long run now than these, like, anything short term, fleeting. Like even when I'm traveling and it's very fast pace and you're not guaranteed to see anyone again. What was my point there? Well, I mean, with social media, you can kind of stay in touch with people. Yeah, not to shit on anything short. Like, if you're living in the moment and you don't want to commit, I'm sure there's a beauty in that. But just chew on the fact that the opposite is also true. Like, there's a beauty in commitment too, and there's a beauty in and a growth that's possible, particularly like business, when you know that you will be able to overcome some things together. So consider, where can you give your commitment to? What are you committed to now? Because even someone who won't commit to others, or don't want to feel tied down to any sort of relationship, business or otherwise, like, you're committing to yourself. You're committing to a sense of freedom that or you're committing to some sort of virtue or some sort of protection of yourself. And so there's commitment there. And maybe that commitment to yourself is enough, is satisfactory enough. But I'm digging, or I'm enjoying, not even really, because I feel like I'm getting burned most recently, and I've committed to these things and backed it up with money too. It's like, I'm committed to this venture, and here's a chunk of money so that we can get this going, and here's time and effort, and I'll buy my own flights to get to these places and to show up time and time again. And even though I've gotten burned, and I think it's still worth it. Maybe not. Maybe I need to reflect on maybe just committing to myself, and to, when to not give yourself away and when to give yourself away. So no, no definitive, no definitive conclusion arrived to there. Still trying to balance out trust and how to remain trusting of people despite um, their others' inability to maintain the integrity of your trust. How to pick yourself up after how to pick up the pieces of a broken heart and put them back together. How to maintain a sense of hope, and what's the worth of hope, right? Because I've heard hope is as hollow as fear, right? Because you can wish and wish and wish, but wishing, is not grounded, and wishing might not do well enough for this reality, maybe for the next one, but for this one you can't build a life off of wishing. There has to be some sort of grounded practice or practical element to it, some sort of dirt to the clouds. But there is a place for hope, and there is a place for optimism, and that balance, I think, is between you and you. And for me, what I've been saying lately is on the most macro scale, I'm optimistic. So I after death, I have a certain optimism that it'll at least all be okay, or that love is still shaping this world, and even the chaos that we see at one level is order at a higher level that we just can't see. I tend to think like this, and I tend to bring some pessimism to the more microscopic elements of my life, the more ego, like not having expectations for people. And one, because I know that that's like the right thing to do, but also because I've been burned and counting on people to uphold these expectations that are in my head is not possible. Like I believe in selfishness at the individual level. And when interacting with others, I make plenty of room for their selfishness to live. And that tempers my expectations of them quite a bit. So that's my kind of practice of balance right now, but I can even see how there's holes in it and how I need to be reorganized and constantly evolving in that balance too, of optimism and pessimism. I haven't necessarily found or made a reason to be optimistic in like business yet, or the creation of wealth and money. I've done well in terms of jobs, but I haven't been the best employee, and I've been fired quite a bit. I talk to some people who have never been fired. I'm like, I've been fired 6 times, 7 times. And yeah, I don't necessarily want to end on that note. I want to end on the hope or the potentiality of balance between optimism and pessimism, between trusting and putting up boundaries, between respect of others and respect of self. Well, I really hope you enjoyed this episode, and happy that I'm healthy. I'm happy that I'm here and I get to share. And I'm really happy you are too. I'm available, and leave a comment and reach out. And yeah, thank you so much. This has been the Goodwind.